Right, all right, all right. What's happening, folks? Oh, let's see. Okay, everything seems to be working. Doom, 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 da, doom, doom, da, doom, doom. Dr. O, PhD, welcome back. Welcome back. Good to see you. All right. The party is about to get started. Oh wow, I didn't pick out a song. Well, I think I know what song I want to play. I didn't I didn't set it up. But I can do that now. The magic of the interwebs will allow me to do that right now. Mouse to key. Okay, let's see. Gotta go to the right platform, find the good stuff. Do 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 do. Okay, think we're just about there. Let's see. Yes. Do 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 do. Okay, there we go. Found it. Found it. I'll be playing some music in a few minutes. For the folks that are just coming in, welcome. Hello. Good to see you. Oh, it's weird. I got a lot of sleep last night, and yet I still feel kind of out of it. I don't know. I don't know why. Thomas Tully 3 says, let's go. All right. I like that energy, especially since I definitely don't have that energy. But good. I'm glad that you do. It's good stuff. Once in a while I come across someone like, maybe online or something. Like I just saw this guy. I found this out through Amy Poehler's podcast called Good Hang. Um, she had a guest on, one of the women from SNL, and she pointed out this video, this channel actually, and it's just a guy that unclogs drains. And it's sort of like industrial stuff, like he'll do it for restaurants and big businesses and, manufacturing plants and stuff like that. So they have these, these gigantic sewage systems and whatnot. And oh, Thomas, here's the thing. I'm going to save you from being bored. Bye. Anyway, so uh this and it's funny because I was about to give that idiot a compliment, but then he said boring, so now he's not going to hear it. And now I won't even say it actually. But this guy unclogs drains. He's from Australia, and he just gets so excited. Hello, Jessica. Thank you for the heart me. He gets so excited when uh, he unclogs a drain. He's like, "Oh, look at this little ripper! Oh, crikey," all that shit, and he gets so, and I think to myself, my God, I don't know if I have enthusiasm for anything like that. And this is what this guy does for a living. He sees this every day of his life practically, and he's still really excited about that. And I think that's commendable. So, user 4341, butter sausage. Let's talk about butter sausage. What about butter sausage? Oh, you've been a fan for 300 days, Jessica. Spectacular. That's exciting stuff. Um, they talk about butter sausage. That's seems like a desperate plea for help, frankly. Oh man. Anyway, as people are coming in, let's play some music. I believe this was a hit in the 80s. I don't remember exactly. Late 70s, early 80s, something like that. But it's by the prog rock band called Yes, one of the most brilliant bands in music history, in my opinion. Let's hear Owner of a Lonely Heart. Hey, Danny.
Maybe there's another way to do this.
I never saw this version of the video. Oh, I'm going to put a little interstitial in here. Some concept film. Guy sat in his car and turned into a snake. Oh, Lord. It would have been better if I had opted for the audio only. Another guy just turned into a lizard. This guy just turned into a cat. God, this is dumb. Alright, this is like an eagle landing, and we don't know what that is. Oh, now we have a bird's eye view of the eagle flying. Oh, Lord. weird this video is. Right. Yeah, I haven't seen that video in a long time. I forgot how bizarre it is. But it's fun. All right. So I'm going to talk about a subject and then I'll bring some guests up. Very quickly, we all remember the gold card that Don printed for immigration purposes. He said he was going to charge $5 million for every card, and that there were thousands of people around the world that would be willing to pay for that. And his like Secretary of Commerce or something like that, whatever the title is, Lutnick, Howard Lutnick. They lied about the gold card. They didn't raise hundreds of billions of dollars. They sold one card for $1 million. That $1 million was likely spent before the time it took for me to explain this to you. So obviously there's another purpose for the cards. My guess is just to transfer more money anonymously, because Dump loves that. But let's bring up a couple of people to talk about it. I'm bringing up Danny. Of course, Jessica, you are always welcome to join in, and anybody else who wants to come up and talk about this. Danny, what's going on? How you doing?
I'm hanging in there. How you doing?
I'm good. I was doing some mic modding today. I actually made a video with my new $20 mic, because it's actually it's a quasi-famous mic because it's so cheap, but it's so good. Hello, Jessica. How you doing?
You know.
Yeah, I feel that. Yeah, so I'll show everybody that that video in a minute, because it's kind of funny. But yeah, so Danny, what do you think of this gold card that amounted to essentially nothing?
Well, I'm not surprised. This guy's the biggest scam artist there is in the world that I've ever seen. He makes my dad look like an angel as a used car salesman. So uh, we knew that was going to be a bunch of BS, and it wasn't going to be a bunch of people running to get one of those cards to come into the country. And I mean, let's face it. And probably the only one they sold to was probably some white guy from Norway or someplace, you know. Uh, so it's crazy, He, like you said, he's a grifter. The topic is spot on. There isn't a better grifter than he is, and you know.
Yeah, I think the promise was that it was going to wipe out the debt
National
with
debt.
this card, right? Which
Yeah,
is
yeah,
really fucking
yeah.
hilarious. So, Jessica, what do you think of of the gold card? This is one of many bullshit grifts that he's done, but I just figured, I saw a story on this today, and I figured I'd bring up this one.
I don't think anyone should be surprised. Yeah, they sold one, and that's not counting the honorary one that he gave to Nicki Minaj.
Yeah.
And of course, it should come as a shock to absolutely no one that it sold for 20% of what he said that they were going to sell for.
Mm-hmm.
I think that probably happened because it was out there for so long and nobody even attempted to get one, and so they're like, "Oh, well, we'll run you a special deal. Please, somebody, God, just buy one."
Yeah, they probably gave him the money to do it too. They probably were like,
honestly,
we'll give you the $1 million, and then you just use it for this.
Yeah. I think it's just one of many things in the long line of grifting. I think it's just. I don't think he even saw it as something beneficial for America. I think he saw it as nothing more than another piece of merchandise to stamp his name on. Honestly, that would be my take on it. And it's not surprising that just in line with everything else he stamps his name on, it fucking fell flat.
Yeah. So remember, folks, tap. For some reason, we only have 300 likes so far. So remember while you're listening. Surfling is very funny. He or she said, leave the chat if you want world peace. That's funny.
Bye.
That's very, very clever. So yeah, so I mean, I've literally I'm 61 and I've been paying attention to presidents even in a cursory way from early 70s. Like I remember Richard Nixon, and I remember him going on television and crying and quitting, But I've never seen, like, if you compare just one of the things that Dump has done, it's 1,000 times worse than anything Nixon ever did. I mean, well, unless you count extending the Vietnam War, which cost 22,000 additional lives, that was pretty horrendous. But I think Dump has eclipsed that. And if you add all the things that he's done together, certainly makes what's it called? Watergate. It makes Watergate look like a joke. The things that Dump has done. Hello, Hayes. Thank you for coming by. Like this guy is enriching his family in ways. He just awarded a contract, a government military contract, to a drone company that his two sons have ownership in. I mean, this is, and of course, it's being mostly marketed in the Middle East, where they're trying to protect themselves and stuff. It's just crazy. It's just absolutely crazy.
But remember, he's going to end the fraud, waste, and abuse, right? Draining the swamp, right?
Yeah. Well, there's two things I think of. Number one, he drained the swamp and then refilled it with raw sewage. Number two, when he said, I'm going to stop government waste, I think he meant other people's government waste and fraud, and then I'm going to do my own. He leaves out that last part of it, of the agenda, because they have not done anything to reduce fraud and waste. Nothing. They claim that they booted 4 million people off of benefits. I think it was SNAP benefits or something like that. And they claim that it was all fraud. Really? That's interesting. And yet there's not been one prosecution.
Right.
Interesting how that works.
Also considering that SNAP benefits is one of the hardest government assistance programs to defraud.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's not like it used to be in before computers. Yeah, people could have multiple cards and it was, I don't know if rampant is the right word, but it definitely fraud existed in government benefit programs. I don't know to what extent, but I know it was a lot easier. But then once they started computerizing everything, it became a lot harder. And I would say almost impossible.
Yeah, I know. So whenever I first left my husband, I left with less than $80 to my name.
Yikes. Wow.
Yeah. And because I had no bank account, I had no access to any funds. I wasn't allowed to leave the home, so I didn't have a job. I didn't have access to anything. I spent months just getting what I could out of what I got out of his pockets when I did laundry, and that's what I left with. So when I first left my husband, I applied for food stamps. Now, granted, the process for getting them is going to vary from state to state because they're typically state-run.
Right.
However, My state is a state that has one of the larger populations per capita on food stamps. In my state, they run your name, your social security number. They look for your bank accounts. If you have any sort of app that is tied to your bank account, like a PayPal or a Cash App, you have to send in a year's worth of statements. For Cash App, for PayPal, anything that is tied to a bank account, you have to send in a year's worth of bank statements. If you do not have a bank account, like I didn't at the time, you had to basically any existing bank account that you had previous to the last year, you had to get a letter from that bank stating that that bank account was no longer active. They check everything so thoroughly to make sure that you are not basically secretly a millionaire frauding them.
Right.
It is very stringent. You have to have proof of everything. It's a very hard system to defraud.
Yeah. Absolutely. And this one mouth breather earlier said, "I have never been on government assistance." Okay, so what?
Cool. Good for you.
Good for
That
you.
doesn't
Like,
devalue people who have.
if that's a point of pride for you, your life is pathetic. You
Yeah.
know, like people people fall through the cracks sometimes. Shit happens. Very often you'll have a typical family where mom is staying home and raising 2 or 3 children. Dad's out working. Dad gets hurt. Dad gets sick. Dad passes away. Suddenly that entire support structure for that family is gone. And that's not something anyone did. Nobody did it because that was lazy. Nobody was defrauding anyone. Shit just fucking happens. It's called insurance. What's called insurance?
Insurance doesn't protect you and buy you groceries if someone suddenly gets hurt at work and can't go to work. Not all companies have short-term
So you think it's a
disability.
liberal thing that dad gets hurt? What kind of dumb shit is that? He says it's called insurance, liberals, LMAO, and then dad gets hurt. Is that funny? That's really funny to you? Okay. So you got to go.
It's so strange to me that they come up here with this sense of bravado and say just absolute shit. And of course, due to, TikTok hating me and kicking me every time I'm supposedly mean, I have to get creative. So I'll just say that the confidence is inversely proportional to the intelligence, and it shows.
That's well said. Yeah. I mean, these are clearly geniuses. If this is how they argue about things, as if people getting hurt is a liberal issue. Fuck, what does that mean? That's just dumb. And today I saw farmers whining, and it was specifically farmers who voted for him, because that's what they said. They said it themselves. I voted for him, and now with the strait closed and all this other stuff and the tariffs, my business is going under and no one's here to help me. And they're out there asking for handouts. And I have less sympathy for them because they did this to themselves. The family who loses the breadwinner didn't do that to themselves. That's just something that happened and is unfortunate. And I love that America used to have a robust system in place so that we could take care of people that fell through the cracks.
Yeah. Well, when you elect someone with the moral consistency of a wet paper bag and the intellectual curiosity of a rock, this is kind of the things that you tend to get, especially when those supporters fall right in line with it. I mean, I see it all the time in my state. We're now up to 1 out of every 3 farmers in my state are declaring bankruptcy. We are a hugely agricultural state. Yeah. We're a hugely agricultural state, and granted, a lot of them did not vote for Trump. I know that it's kind of the trend to think that all of these farmers who are going under did vote for him, but a lot of them didn't.
Of course. Yeah, and
And
that's
so
the sad part, right? Is that we
that's the
can't
sad
even
part.
rejoice in their fucking dumb decision because it affects all of us.
Yeah. Yeah. And I tell people this all the time. I'll have MAGA hats come up and, try to tell me that, oh, you just want him to fail. Why would you want him to fail? I don't. That's the funny part. Granted, I hope that I wake up to the big, beautiful obituary tomorrow. But in terms of his job as a president, I don't want him to fail because
he just happens to be failing.
He just happens to be failing, but
Right.
him failing means that the rest of us suffer. So I don't want him to fail. I would love for him to trip down the stairs horribly, but
What was it, Air Force One?
yes.
But
Just
that's the thing.
pass over
I
Seattle.
don't understand this logic that when we talk about something, they pull this straw man bullshit out of, oh, you just want him to fail, or oh, you're just protecting illegals. It's like, no, we are protecting the sanctity of the fucking Constitution. We are disappointed that he's failing. Nobody wanted him to fail. Look, even Dave Chappelle, in that famous SNL speech when he first got elected, like, hey, let's see what he does. Let's see how he does, right? And even though that didn't make me feel better because we knew that he was going to shit the bed, it was like, yeah, I get that. I get saying, yeah, let's wait and see because nothing is set in stone until it's set in stone. And so the fact that we were convinced that he was going to fail didn't make it right until, of course, he failed. And then none of us rejoiced in that. Not one person across the spectrum, I don't care who you are, where you are, not one person has been like, yeah, I'm so glad that dump is failing. Because as you pointed out rightly, we're all suffering because of these failures.
Yeah, I hold on. Lynn Walton says, "Lady, shut." I guess she's trying to say, "Shut up." Trump is a used car salesman. Weird. I'm not advocating for the man. I fucking hate him, but I don't want American citizens to suffer. All of us are suffering because he's such a twat.
I was on another platform last night, and I tried to call someone that, and that platform wouldn't let me print my comment. I had to take that out.
I have to, due to TikTok, I have to use the
British pronunciation.
British pronunciation. Yeah.
Let's see. Alarm Me says the administration's lack of foreign diplomacy affairs is astounding. Well, yes, it is on one hand and in one way of looking at it, and it was completely predictable, and that brings me to the video that I posted today. I'm going to share that with you all right now, and also at the same time enjoy using one of my new mics, but again, only $20, so I don't feel so bad. Here we go. MAGA hats were right. I know you never expected me to say that, but it's true. MAGA hats very clearly explained to me back in 2024 that if I voted for Kamala Harris, prices would go through the roof. There would be wars in the Middle East, and foreign relations would go to shit. It's hard to imagine this, but they were actually right about that because I did vote for Kamala Harris, along with other people that have a developed frontal lobe. I realized that it was a terrible idea to vote for a con artist, a convicted felon, an adjudicated rapist. These are bad ideas. This is not someone you want in the most powerful position in the world. But I got to give credit where credit is due. They told me what would happen, and it happened. Yay. So you both can come off mute and share your thoughts about that idea.
Yeah, no, I saw that video earlier. I'm pretty sure that I liked it, but
Thank you.
yeah, of course. Um, yeah, it is strange, isn't it? All of the things that they said that would happen if Harris got elected are somehow happening under Trump. Gee, wonder who could have seen that fucking coming. Um, we've been shouting it from the rooftops for years. Ace, I think that all insider trading should be banned. Technically, it is, but they do it anyways. It is already technically illegal. But that's why other Democrats like Bernie and AOC have introduced legislation to ban any sort of stock trading to any elected official. Democrats introduced that, not
Right.
Republicans.
And also, why is he referencing Pelosi and Schumer and anybody else? They're not president. And why doesn't it bother him or her that the president is doing this shit? The president is manipulating the stock market. That's part of what tariffs on, tariffs off is about, because they know that there's going to be a dip when he says one thing and then it's going to go up when he says another. And he's always advising his buddies on when the dip is coming. So no, you're not bothered by that. You're bothered by Nancy Pelosi. You're bothered by Chuck Schumer. I am too. I get it. All insider trading needs to go. But why doesn't it bother you that Dump does it?
I also want to point out that I think it's funny anytime they use like, oh, well, what about Pelosi or Schumer? We don't fucking like them either.
Exactly.
We don't like them either.
But we're intellectually honest about it in that we cast the net over everyone that's doing that shit. Not just, oh, let's look at the people on the other team. Let's ignore that the president of America has made billions of dollars in the last year and a half, completely fleecing the country, completely breaking the rules, completely breaking laws, allegedly. You know? I mean, it's ridiculous. And they constantly want to point out other people that are doing these things. And it's like, yes, those people are doing it too, but why are you only focused on them? Why can't you start with an acknowledgement that the person that you voted for is stealing your money? And I mean your money. If you're a taxpayer, then Dump is stealing your money.
Yeah, someone called you a paid protester. Bitch, I wish I got paid for this shit.
And remember, if I were paid, so what? There are people that get paid every day to make commentary. So what? You're not a capitalist? You don't believe in capitalism? Is that your problem? You must be a communist, I guess.
I also want to point out that people literally got paid to attend Trump rallies and be seat fillers. So again,
go ahead, G Money. Tell me the fraud that he exposed. List out the fraud that he exposed. Go ahead. Whip out that long list of fraud that he exposed.
What about all the fraud in California with the daycares?
What does that have to do with Donald Trump? What is that? Why can't you acknowledge that the president of America is actively engaged in fraud?
I wonder if he's talking about the rumor that started that there was widespread fraud in daycares that was based solely off of a video that a grifting right-wing TikToker posted that was then proven to be false and completely debunked.
Right.
That's probably what he's referencing.
Yeah. Well, MAGA hats are allergic to facts. Look at this child. Lynn writes, lie.
No, it's very easy to fact check. I understand that fact checking is obviously not you guys' strength, but you should really try it just once in a while.
It might feel good. It might feel good.
I don't think it would. I think that it would actually probably hurt them.
Could be. Ace is saying Omar's yo-yo net worth.
I think Ilhan Omar is probably who they're referencing.
Right.
Ilhan Omar, The only money that she has gained in office is the salary that she makes while in office. She does not trade stocks. She does not accept corporate PAC or super PAC donations. I also want to point out that when you're talking about a politician, if all you're doing is going to Google and typing in that person's name and their net worth, that number that is tabulated on Google includes every single dollar of political donation that was made to them. That doesn't mean that that's how much that person is actually worth or how much they have in their bank account. That is how much money has been funneled their way, also through political donations. So, of course, whenever we Google a politician and their net worth, say they had a really successful campaign and a bunch of people donated to them and they got $20 million in donations, that $20 million in donations is going to be added to their net worth. However, typically, most of those donations are used on the campaign trail.
Right. And also, again, why are you worried about her and not what Dump is doing? Why do you focus on the much smaller players and the alleged things that they're doing? None of it is proven. We are watching Dump defraud the country. We're watching it in real time. We're watching him set up contracts for his children. We're watching him do real estate deals all over the world. We're watching him issue fake products to launder money through, or that people can pay him so that he does favors for them, like pardoning their children. We're seeing all this shit, and yet you want to worry about Ilhan Omar? That's just nonsensical. It's childish.
Literally one of the least
G Money
corrupt.
says, "Where's your proof?" It's up your mother's ass, because and you'll probably find it tonight. I mean, for the love of God, get a grip on yourself.
Alarm?
Hold
No,
on
I
a
don't
second.
know.
G Money says he's been doing real estate deals all his life. Oh, and that's the point, huh? That's the point that you want to make. You think that that's a valid point? You're saying I'm saying fraud. You're saying, well, he's been doing it his whole life. So what? Presidents are not supposed to be doing what he's doing. That's what the emoluments clause says. They're not supposed to be enriching themselves by using the power of the presidency. Yeah, he also lost huge money, G Money, because you obviously don't know who he actually is. He's mostly a failed businessman. I know you don't know that because you think The Apprentice was a documentary, but The Apprentice was a reality game show. Dump was never what he claimed to be. He bullied his way onto the Forbes list. He's never had as much money as he said he did until now, until he became presidency and leveraged that to make as much as he's made, which is billions.
I also want to point out that I love when people bring up the real estate thing. Yeah, in terms of him in real estate, ask his contractors how many of them got paid.
Right. This guy owned the Plaza. And I'm only saying this for G Money. I know I've explained it to everybody before. The Plaza is the premier hotel in New York City, and he got it foreclosed. Okay? He lost it. He couldn't figure out how to make money with the premier hotel in New York City. And the people that owned it before him knew how to make a profit. The people that have owned it since him learned how to make a profit. He couldn't figure out how to make a profit. He's dumb.
Frank says, "Oh my God, look at the Democrats first, and a billionaire is not a failed businessman." Well, here's the problem with that.
He inherited his wealth, you dum-dum.
Also, why do you want us to look at the Democrats? The Democrats are not the ones in power of anything. Wouldn't it? So you guys are supposed to be the party of common sense. So let's try to rub two brain cells together for a second. I know that's going to be hard for you, considering both of your brain cells are fighting for third place. But let's try for a moment and think about this. Why would we look at the Democrats first instead of the person who holds the most powerful seat in the world? Why would we look at the party that doesn't have any majority and has the least amount of power in government right now? Why would we look at them first instead of the ones who are actually in power? There's, oh my god, I can't get another ban. Yoda, oh god, take over, please.
So, what we're talking about is trying to engage your intellect, which is different than your intelligence. I don't know whether you have either, but if you do, your intellect would lead you to find facts, right? And instead, because you've abdicated your intellect, all you do is repeat what Donnie Dump says. Because you're not intelligent people, you're not intellectually curious people, you're just followers, you're lemmings, you're cult members. And all you do is whatever Donnie says, you repeat it and feel real confident in what you're saying. And what you're saying is foppish twaddle. Okay? Those are real words, by the way.
Yeah, I find it interesting when Trump supporters come up and try to engage in conversation about fraud or about law and order, because watching these people go on about fraud and abuse and law and order while worshiping a convicted felon is, and I've said this before but I'll say it again, it's like watching a vegan deep-throated cheeseburger and call it tofu. You guys don't give a shit about laws.
Yeah.
You care about authority just as long as it wears the right hat and flatters your feelings. You guys have replaced critical thinking with blind loyalty. Okay? At this point, you guys replace the Constitution with vibes. Okay? And facts
And
just
all those
went out
vibes
the
are
window.
racist.
Right. Facts just went out the window to be replaced with whatever nonsense makes you guys feel powerful that day. You guys don't support law and order. You don't support going after fraud. You don't support justice. You support impunity, preferably delivered by a man who lies so often that it should be qualified as a medical condition.
Here's G Money hearing everything you're saying but not listening at all. And he says, why don't you talk about your party? You can't make this up. You just can't make this up.
The point would slap him in the face and he still wouldn't get it. It's sad.
Maybe
so
put
again,
it at the end of his boyfriend's joint and he might figure it out. So, so Danny, we haven't heard from you in a minute. Hopefully you're still with us. Or maybe you got busy in the background. There he is. What's going on? What are you thinking, Danny?
No, I was trying to hold my temper back, listening to all these fucking comments. I'm obviously I'm not in a great mood, so I'm trying not to get myself fucking banned.
I'm sorry, you're not in a great mood.
Well, it's been a day. Anyway, these knuckle dragging, mouth breathing. I can only use the military word numbnuts. They don't have a clue. All they care about is if you're talking bad about my daddy, I don't want you doing anymore. That's the way they're acting. And they ain't going to change. They're a bunch of goddamn kids that don't give a shit about nobody but themselves. That's all they care about. But when you pick on my daddy, I'm going to pick on you.
They don't care about themselves, though, Danny. If they cared about themselves, they would vote accordingly. But they don't. They don't. They literally vote against their best interests.
That's true. However, yeah, you're right. I'm just, it's.
Oh, look at
it's
G,
out
look
of
at G, look at
control.
G Money being falsely humble. Okay, you've made your point now. Tell me something good about the Democratic Party. What have they done? I don't know. You like roads and highways. You like 40-hour work weeks. You like health care. You like the end of child labor. Just to name a few. Do you like the space program? I,
You like public education?
public education.
So
I mean, do
the
you, do you do you like most of the things that make up the
Yeah,
reality of your day-to-day life? Because I got news for you, little boy. It was Democrats who gave that to you.
yeah. And your parents' Social
Republicans were
Security
literally against
grandparents.
all of the things that I just mentioned,
Yeah,
including the highway. Republicans were against the highway system.
the interstate system. That's right. That was a Republican, the president that signed it into law that we needed it.
Look at G Money. Look at G Money's comeback says crappy healthcare. That's his comeback to everything that I just said. Crappy healthcare.
yeah,
Well,
because he says Obamacare is.
if it's so crappy, why do most people that are on it say it's good? And why is it that the Republicans have spent years whining about it and never replacing it? Why is that? They had a chance in 2016, but all he could come up with was that it was 2 weeks away every time he was interviewed about it. Okay.
He had a concept
For
of a
four
plan.
years, it was 2 weeks away. And then during the debate, the debate with Kamala Harris, where he humiliated himself with cats and dogs and all that wild shit, he said he had a concept of a plan. But you're not focused on that, huh? You're focused on the fact that maybe the healthcare, which, by the way, the reason why it's not great healthcare, because what Obama was trying to do was give average citizens the same kind of healthcare that politicians had. That was his goal. And guess what? The Republicans stopped that from happening. But you're still voting for them.
I love it. So there's been a couple of comments like, okay, well, and what party started the Triple K? What party supported slavery? And this just shows a
Why don't
stunning.
hold on a second, hold on. G Money, I'm about done with you. Then why don't the politicians use it? Because they have better health care, you fucking donut.
Also, we
Plus,
weren't
they hate
talking
to
about.
themselves.
Also, we weren't talking about Obamacare. Like, gave Medicare and Medicaid. You know, those things that seniors and disabled
Oh,
people use. Yeah, that was the Democrats. But for the people stating like, oh, what party started the Triple K and what party supported slavery, that just shows a stunning amount of historical illiteracy that
mm-hmm.
I can't even begin to touch.
Yeah, and by the
Um,
way, if your claim to fame is something that happened 165 years ago, you might want to rethink your timeline.
yeah, because my response is always, and what party do those institutions support now?
Right. We have someone new up, Mr. Allen. How you doing?
I'm good. I'll be right back. I got a phone call. I'll be right back.
Okay.
I'm
Very
sorry.
popular. No worries. I'll put him on mute for a moment. So, yeah, I mean, I love that. Oh, which party started like? Oh, which party supported? Which party went to WAR against their own country? Hold on, we've got.
And and again, like, what party do they support now? I'm not saying that every Republican is a member of the Triple K, but I am saying that every member of the Triple K is a Republican.
Right. And we have Alarmy. Good to see you. What's up? How you doing?
Hey, Yoda. I will have to say, there seems to be a very big disconnect of, but Biden, and they really can't come up with facts about what their president's actually doing that's currently in office now, except for the fact when you point out that things are a lot worse. Gas is not $2.99 per gallon like Trump.
Oh, your teacup there. There you go.
He
So you were saying
he
gas
thinks
is not $2.99 a gallon, like.
right. He thinks gas is $2.99 per gallon. Where I'm at, it's $5 a gallon, and we haven't been that high since. I think it was when my kids were babies. in like 2007.
Right.
And the thing
Oh,
that
I'm sorry.
really, really is
Hold that thought one
frustrating.
second. Ken D, for some reason you're not loading up. Yeah. If you want to try again, sometimes that happens. It just a guest doesn't load. So feel free to request up again. So you were saying, Alarmy?
Well, in groceries, we have grocery prices that are astronomical at the store. And we had these tariffs that were deemed illegal, and they're supposed to get money back to people who paid these tariffs, but they're only giving it back to the companies who are not giving it back to the American people who actually paid those costs for
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
exorbitant products.
Guess where they're getting the money from to give it back? Us.
Yeah, and that was Trump, not Biden, Lynn Walton.
That's right.
And also, I'm going to say the healthcare crisis right now, you think it's bad now, but we have nursing homes that are about to close down because
They've been closing.
there's no money. And
Yeah,
so
nursing
people are
homes
like
and
losing
hospitals
placements.
they've been closing since last year, since the big bill passed. Before we continue, Ken D, thank you for requesting up again. How you doing? Ken, you have to unmute yourself.
Doing great, host. Thank you. I'm doing great, host. Thank you for allowing me a moment to be up
Sure.
on your panel.
Of course.
I just wanted to say the irony of my life right now. Can you hear me or
I
no?
can.
Okay, I know I got low bars. It's the area that I'm in. There's less towers here. I just want to say briefly, the irony of my life right now is for the rest of this year, the trajectory of my income will increase astronomically because of the closing hospitals and nursing homes. Because my second job, which will outpace economically my first job, we sell used medical equipment. So the irony is we will be selling. He's moving warehouses now. I just left work. Mind you, this is my second job, but I know that I'll probably make at least $100,000 within a year just off of this job. And this is not my main job, but it will become my main job. Or if it gets to that point, I'll just quit my regular job and do this full time. There's already so much equipment in the marketplace where people are scaling back, closing wings, closing departments, selling off equipment, and people like him are buying it and then they're selling it in countries overseas. Like the company I work for, they sell the medical equipment to India and Pakistan by the tractor trailer load. And I'm just saying all that to say this. That's not making America great again. That's diminishing our ability to take care of ourselves medically. And the irony of my life is because of capitalism, I'm benefiting based on the horrible decision that was made, which is causing these nursing homes, which as the woman just mentioned, there will be many nursing homes that are going to close. They're projected to close, and they're quietly positioning themselves to they're in damage control right now as far as how they're going to land. Because if 2/3 of their income was never completely cut, that's why in Ohio they're dropping the elderly at helicopters. But
Okay. Unfortunately,
it's so
your phone
weird
is breaking up very
because
badly now. So let me drop you down. Thank you for joining. Yeah, we couldn't hear the last few things that you said.
Yoda, what he was trying to say is that nursing home staff are dropping
No,
people off at
I definitely caught
homeless
all that.
shelters.
But then he started breaking up. So dude says in all caps for some reason, please don't continue to type in all caps. Dump is saving the world. Dump is the greatest president ever. Okay, that's really powerful, dude. Why don't you give me one way he's saving the world? Is it do you save the world by what? What are you trying to say here? Give me one example of how he's saving the world. I'd love to hear this.
Did you see the recent, well, probably not because you hate hearing him speak, but did you see the recent address that he gave is like at some small gathering in which he,
No.
of course, the ballroom came up and someone had asked him about how, oh, why are you doing all of this for a ballroom that won't be completed until after your term? You won't get to use it. And he was like, well, since I'll be in for the next 8 to 9 years,
There you go.
I probably will get to use it. And then combine that with, so, he just nominated a federal judge that's going through the process right now, testifying in front of Congress, all of that, doing that.
They're getting rubber stamped. I saw a clip of them. They wouldn't answer the question, did Biden win in 2020?
They also, this guy, it's something Mark, his last name is Mark, he refused outright. And again, this is a nomination for a federal judge. Refused to answer if the 22nd Amendment would apply to Trump. Yeah, which is, of course, as we all know, he pretended at first I say pretended, to not know what the 22nd Amendment even entailed. And then when it was explained to him, he said, oh, well, I'd have to look at all the facts before I, could say one way or the other. The fact is, he's on his second term. This is it. He can't run again. And yet this guy refused to say it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because, there's that old saying, I think it was Sinclair said it, Alistair Sinclair, that thing about, a man is only as smart as you pay him to be, something like that.
Yeah.
And these people can't give true answers if the true answers make their boss look bad. Jones, what's cooking, brother?
Yeah, I heard Count Chocula is not feeling well. AKA Rudy Giuliani.
Oh, Giuliani?
Yeah.
What do you
Me
mean?
and my friends used to call him Count
he's
Chocula.
Not doing well.
Yeah, he's in the hospital.
Oh, with what?
It's supposed to be critical at this point, but I'm not sure.
We don't know what it is.
With what? But they did say he's in critical condition.
Oh, well, Father Time is undefeated.
Yeah. It's not the one we want, but I'll take it.
Well,
that's a good start.
He's a tale of what happens when you're buddies with this guy and what really happens after the fact. When he's done with you, I'm starting to wonder what secrets Bondi was just done with trying to cover up, because if you notice, a lot of the people that get left out of his cabinet, all of a sudden things come out that they were trying to hide, like Noam and her husband. Or before that, there's secrets that have seemed to be leaking out now after they're no longer in his favor. So what else is he got on all these people? There's a few that have been speculated with, a lot of them, but there's a lot of concerning things like Mike Johnson and his adopted son. That's really, really scary, if you think about it.
The stuff that Johnson talks about with regard to his son is some of the creepiest fucking shit I've ever heard in my life.
Well, I'm just talking about
this whole adult content buddy system that they have. The fuck are you talking? I mean, I'm guessing the kid's probably about 18 now, but
he's got
more,
an adult. He's got an adult son that he adopted or fostered to adopt back in his 20s. That's like now 25 or 30 something years old, and you wonder what kind of secrets he's keeping, because the guy was like 6 or 7 years older than this kid was when he was adopted.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much children know about what their parents are doing, so.
Oh no, this is back a while ago.
Yeah, but still, children very rarely know what their parents are doing.
I know, but the guy was a 14-year-old when he was adopted by a 22-year-old, 23-year-old. And it just doesn't seem couth.
Okay, so you're saying that perhaps he abused this child? Is that what you're?
I'm wondering, because there's got to be something that's really, really hidden that he's not wanting out, because he's being very, very Trump is my best buddy all around world, and he's afraid to say anything against him.
Well, first of all, he's Speaker of the House for the Republican Party, so of course. He's gonna. I mean, that's his job, literally. So, I'm not sure that's compelling. I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible. It's possible, but that's not compelling to me.
Well, it was starting to come out that Bondi was one of his pageant failures. before she
Yeah, I mean,
disappeared.
yeah, Pam Bondi goes way back with him. She was the one that oversaw the first Epstein case, and and that's when he got this sweet deal where he was allowed to leave the prison for a time every week.
Right.
It was either every week or every day, something like that. Which is unheard of for someone who committed the kind of crimes that he did. So they go this circle of people, this den of thieves has ties that go back decades, and they've been committing crimes together for a long time, allegedly, but it's pretty obvious what they've been doing because they're not good at it. They're good in the sense that they've gotten away without a lot of them being being convicted of any crimes. But the fact that we know as much as we do it means that they're really not that good at the crimes that they're committing. Himsky says, "You're making stuff up. You used the wrong you're, and you said I'm making stuff up. Go ahead, tell me what I made up, and tell me what the right thing is. I bet you don't know either." Malcolm X said the white liberals are the most dangerous person in the U.S. That's not quite true. It was Martin Luther King Jr. that talked about white liberals, and he did not say they were the most dangerous people in the U.S. But that was close. They're stripping, use the wrong there, stripping the Democrats of all power. What does that even mean?
Duke really wants you to read something because he's typed it like 13 times now.
President Donald J. Trump announced that any illegal immigrant that votes red will get U.S. citizenship. I don't know what that's about, Duke, but since you're spamming the chat, you've got to go.
Oh, it's not about anything. That's completely made up. He's
Of
just,
course.
Doing the thing.
Weirdos.
I can't with these people.
Such fucking weirdos.
And anytime we bring up an actual fact, it's always, oh, fake news. Duke did it in the comments
Of
a few
course.
times. Fake news, fake news. And it's so strange to me how these people buy into such blatant propaganda that's been used by every fascist rising ever in history. Those of us who are educated understand that the whole fake news thing, distrust the media, lying press, blah, 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 the list could go on, is one of the first tactics employed by fascism.
And they kind of forget that before Trump was elected, he was having a hard time securing loans just to pay the amounts that he had been sanctioned in court. So the court cases he's lost where he's had to pay millions back, and he still hasn't been paying them. But he was not able to secure any kind of financing, even with having real estate under his belt, because it was all numbers, but the numbers weren't adding up. And he didn't have any financial backers to help support or pay those, and he still doesn't. So he's still not paying these.
Yeah, the biggest
awards.
example of what you're saying is the Letitia James case, where they hit him with about $500 million. And by the way, the MAGA hats were saying no one's ever gotten a fine that big, which is, of course, what Donnie said, which, of course, a quick search and you find that wasn't true. There were several companies that paid way more than that in fines for the same thing. So, they just make shit up. But yeah, they've been going back and forth with that fine. They've been trying to reduce the fine, and all of this, of course, is kind of in limbo because he's president now. But we'll see. But you're right. Before he became president, he absolutely could not liquidate anything fast enough to meet the deadline of, after all the appeals ran out and all that shit, he finally had the deadline. And, as timing would have it, he became president and all of that stuff got put on hold. But despite what he thinks, he's not going to be president forever. And, he might not even survive this term just because he's old and sick. But if somehow he does, once he steps out of the office and once he's pried out of the bunker, he knows that jail time is waiting for him. Once he's citizen dump again, he's done.
That's why he wants that bunker.
Of course.
That's not because we need it.
Same thing Schmittler did. Schmittler literally did the same thing. He built an office space over his bunker, and I hope that Donnie has as much luck with his bunker as Schmittler did.
Yep. Well, and the part of that where I could tell you years ago or last year, he didn't have the financing because there was no donor list. And when they keep on saying, oh, there's no list, I'm really thinking he was thinking, oh, they're asking me about the donor list instead of the Epstein file list.
By the way, Himsky, he can't have immunity for things that he did before he was president. So You don't know what that law means or how it works.
Even things that he does during his presidency,
as long as
immunity
for it,
as long as it's not
presidential.
Yeah, the immunity only applies to things that can be deemed a presidential or official act.
Yeah.
Like him dumping money into his own account to hold on to it for the Venezuelan people, but it went to his private account, not to a government account. And that's never happened before.
Yeah, probably needed to go to escrow of some sort, and instead he gets to earn the interest on it. And
I'm surprised they're not charging them under RICO.
In the game. Gold Tig says, true old school Democrat for dump. No such thing. But Himsky, you people are so funny. That's the best you have, Himsky? You literally can't address any of the things that we've said, so you're reduced to saying nonsensical shit like that. I've seen your comments. They're childish. You don't know any fucking thing that you're talking about. Not one. And all these people that are telling me I'm wrong, go ahead. Instead of telling me, instead of just typing out you're wrong, why don't you type out what the right thing is? You never do that. I wonder why. It's because you don't know what the right thing is. You don't even understand what the fuck I'm saying because you're not smart enough. Someone was clearing
Who said that old school Democrat for Trump? Who said that?
That was, I don't know who said that. Gold Tig.
Yeah. How long you been Democrat there, numbnuts? I'm curious.
Who gives a
How
fuck?
old are you?
Who gives a fuck? They're not going to say anything interesting.
I've been one since 68. If you can beat that, I'll take your bullshit.
Why? Why? Even if they've been that since 1950, that doesn't make them any more right.
No, I'm just saying his comment, and that's a stupid comment.
Look what Himsky said. He said, the right thing, ? That's the Democrat way. Good sounding words. Okay, so we have a 7-year-old in our midst. Himsky,
if I could,
just because of that dumb shit, you've got to go.
Well, and the thing is, we have a lot of people that are like, oh, the healthcare under Obama and under Biden, this was just so horrible. In that era, not many parents had to go and try to find a grant to cover what their health insurance wouldn't cover for their child to have open heart surgery because it's that expensive and a lot of insurance cap. And with what happened with those insurance policies, kids were able to get the medical and surgical care they needed instead of having to rely on grants from like the Shriners that their parents had to apply for. And that was with my dad having good union insurance back in the 70s and good coverage, but they still had a huge amount for out of pocket. And that's what we're looking at in the future if we keep this stuff up.
I wanted to, if I could, give a correction to something else that Big G had put in the comments earlier, saying that, then how come Biden could, issue a pardon for, his son that covered, for everything that he did. That's not how that works.
Wait.
That's
What
not
do
how
you mean
that works.
everything? It was one thing, and all he did was lie on a weapons application and said he didn't have any history of substance abuse. That's the thing that you're comparing. How about
Well,
Dump pardoning a guy that brought in 400 tons of street candy into America? How about that guy? Are those analogous? Are those comparable? What do you think?
well,
Come the
I
fuck
do.
on.
To be fair, it is a pardon that is foregoing, so it also protects him in the future as well. But I do want to clarify, though. So the pardon that came from Biden in relation to not just his son, but other members of his family, doesn't actually necessarily cover them for past actions. It's really a pardon that was intended to protect them from future political retaliation, which we already had a stunning example of. Before Trump was even inaugurated, he was saying how he was going to go after all of these people who quote unquote wronged him. And we had a great example of that within a week of Trump taking office this time around. I actually went through and compiled a list. There were 432 instances of political retaliation from the Trump administration. Lawyers, different law firms, companies, individuals that he went after solely for the purpose of political retaliation.
Yep, very true.
And so that's what that pardon was for, was to protect his family from being gone after by the Trump administration just because he doesn't like the Bidens.
And also, let's keep in mind that Biden had the power to stop the investigation to begin with, and he didn't do it. He let his son be tried and convicted, and the only reason that he was protecting him is because Dump made it clear that he was going to go after him. So anyway, I want to read a couple of quotes because they're so funny. Big G says, "We are all DUMB. Elites feel so good about themselves." Well, Big G, thank you for admitting that you are DUMB. And Himsky, and I need to imitate Himsky, what I think he might sound like to say something like this. Good sounding words mean nothing. That's what Himsky wrote. Good sounding words mean nothing. Wow. 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 Wow.
So, in all
Quick question. Alarm me. Are you from Long Island?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Because you have the intonation of a Long Islander. That's why I was
Sorry.
curious.
No,
I
it's
grew up for a time on Long Island.
No, it's just frustrating because people think that, oh, it's just a simple thing. But there's a lot of dominoes that they just don't get. And, we get,
They're not
oh,
smart.
this
They don't
auto
understand
pen.
anything.
But the thing is, why do we have to have a president sign in Sharpie because he can't hold a pen? Because his dementia and his mental capacity doesn't allow him to hold on to a natural pen. So he signs things with a Sharpie because it's bigger.
That's fine.
Because he's
That doesn't
losing
bother me.
fine motor
That to
skills.
me is insignificant. His health is his health.
And it's showing.
you just fucking oh god, okay.
Big G, really? Really, Big G? I'm simply saying you seem to love repeating other are dumb, but you are smart. I didn't say I was smart. I just point out dumb shit when I hear it. And thank you for being another example of dumb shit.
Also, here's the thing. You say that people say, oh, you guys are just repeating what others are saying. Well, do you think maybe that a lot of us are saying the same thing because it's fucking true and we're just pointing out actual facts because we
You
are
said
capable
the sun
of
rises in the
thinking?
east. How come you keep saying that?
Big G said, I may have 3 master's degrees, but you all have the answers. I would bet money that you don't have a single
I
math. I
may
would bet
have
money you
for
don't have
what
a
does I
single.
may have? Do
Okay,
you
Big
mean
G,
that you might have
theology.
it? That means you're allowed to have three masters, or do you have three masters? Because one of them definitely isn't in English because you don't communicate very well in English.
And Big G,
He said,
theology and online
Hold on,
Bible
hold on, hold
classes.
on, hold on, hold
Not
on.
the same.
I'm gonna have a conversation with Big G for a moment because he's asking absurd questions. Then why do you lose elections? I haven't run for any office, so I don't know what you mean. And if you mean Democrats, they're winning elections left and right these days. And as a matter of fact, there's been since World War II, there's been 7 Democrats in office and 7 Republicans in office. So this idea that Democrats lose elections is just, again, childish and has nothing to do with reality. Chemistry, chemical engineering, and MBA. Good for you. Like I said, one of them clearly is not English. Plus, all of that means that you're schooled. None of that means that you can engage your intellect. There's a difference between those two things. So hooray for you for being in lifelong debt with all these degrees and shit. Good for you. I hope it paid off for you. But you still don't come across as a very intelligent person.
I'm typing with a thumb. Yeah, so do most of us.
Yeah, so are all of us. What the fuck does that have to do with it?
Master's degrees at work here, right? No debt, dude. Yeah.
Oh, good for you.
I don't have student loan debt either. I obtained multiple degrees and I never had a single penny worth of student loans. I had obtained all of my degrees without ever taking out student loans.
There you go.
You're not special. You're not a special, unique snowflake. I would bet money that you don't have a single college degree, let alone master's degrees. And I would also be willing to bet that every single test you ever took in school got handed back face down.
I'd be willing to bet that he rode the short bus to school too.
I think he was a valedictorian of Apex Tech.
Be careful, Danny. I got admonished for using the term short bus last Friday.
Did he
By the way, did you see that text I sent you about that?
Yeah, I got it. I got it.
That's funny, right?
did he get a floor degree
Yeah.
like those nurses that paid for their degree that really didn't have one?
Look, I don't care if this guy has the degrees or not. Like, let's say he does. So what? What's that got to do with anything?
He doesn't sound like
We're
it.
talking about the failings of a president, and this guy wants to talk about his fucking degrees as if that means he's smart. No, you voted for a felon. That's not smart. You voted for someone who's tanking
right.
the American economy. That's not smart. I don't care how many fucking degrees you have.
Someone said many Christian prophets say Trump is a servant of Satan. Lucifer 666. So here's my problem with that. One, I don't subscribe to your Sky Daddy. So here's the thing. Even if you do subscribe to Christianity, stop painting Trump as somebody who is the Antichrist or is demon possessed or controlled by Satan or whatever other bullshit you guys come up with. I will respect your right to practice your religion, but when you do that and you try to make him out to be this larger thing like an antichrist or demon possessed or what the fuck ever, you are actively taking away his accountability by putting that blame on some supernatural being that he is the host of. No, he's just a shitty human being who deserves to have all of that accountability directed at him specifically, not some amorphous supernatural thing.
Yeah, I'd rather keep fiction out of the conversation. You know, if you wanna believe in whatever you want to believe, if you think my unicorn runs the universe like I do, fine. But nobody gives a fuck, honestly. No, nobody cares what your imagination is telling you about how the universe is structured, because we all don't know. We can think, we can imagine, we can postulate, we can theorize. None of us knows. None of us.
And as a friend of Satan, I want to say Donald Trump has no relationship with Satan. Satan does want nothing to do with Trump.
The only thing that Satan did wrong, according to the Bible, was disagree with God. So I think Satan's a hero.
I agree.
hi, Dangerfield. Dangerfield's in the chat.
I don't know why we bring. I don't know why that's part of conversations at all. Honestly, I fantasize for a world where no one talks about whatever fucking goofy fantasy they have in their head regarding the Sky Daddy. I don't care. It is irrelevant. It is only in your imagination, and that doesn't make you bad or wrong, but it's only in your imagination. Whatever it is that you believe that makes us animus and what makes the world and what creates the universe, whatever you believe is in your imagination. There is no proof of it. It is not worth talking about.
Yeah, it reminds me of that little quote. It's like, religion is like a peen. It's great if you have one, but don't try to shove it down other people's throats.
Right. Yeah, I only care how people behave, what they think about. Like, I just literally, look, another one, that's not true. What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, it's Lynn. Lynn's been chirping away.
You know, I listened to a video earlier today where this woman was running down all the horrible shit that Dump has been doing, especially with regard to the bodies dropping in the Middle East. Innocent people, school children, all this shit. And this woman was like, yes, I support all of it. And then the host said, and you call yourself a Christian? And she said, yes. So there you go. It means nothing. Saying Jesus, saying God, none of that shit means anything if you're gonna behave like a piece of shit. You're only making yourself feel better by claiming to be a Christian or whatever the fuck claim you make. Oh, I'm a proud Muslim. I'm a proud Zoroastrian. I'm a proud this. I'm a proud that. Who gives a fuck? What are you actually doing in the world? That's what I want to know.
Well, the Christian belief is you can do whatever the fuck you want to as long as you repent on Sunday, right? And so I guess they think that protects them. God forbid you guys go before Sunday gets here. It's just ridiculous to me. I had a conversation with my significant other earlier today, as a matter of fact, about the state of
promoted. I love it.
Yeah. I thought I'd go ahead and graduate him from lover to significant other. But
He's
I
not
had
a piece of meat, Jessica. God damn it.
I mean, he's a fine ass piece of meat, though. So But anyways, I was having a conversation with him today. We were talking about the state of the Christian nationalism in the country right now, and just how and just how absolutely insane it is. And I referred to it as a plague and the downfall of our society.
Because I think all religion is. I don't care.
Yeah,
and again, there are some exceptions. There are some very gentle religions that literally have no history of ugliness, but it's a short list, right? Most religion, to me, is a cancer on humanity. It is the thing more than anything that is responsible for the violence and the cruelty and the lack of development of intellect in the world than anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was a point that we had made as well, as, really all religion, or at least, subscribe to religions, particularly the Abrahamic faiths. But like, in my opinion, I think that it has taken a step further. I mean, Christianity in general is, of course, responsible for so much shitty things throughout history. But the state of the Christian nationality that we have in this country right now is just out of this world.
Yeah, agree. I mean,
And
I
then,
think they're a domestic tea group that, and I believe
absolutely, I agree.
that the FBI and the CIA have also listed them the same way.
Yeah, I agree. And I like Lynn down here in the comments said, well, spiritual versus religious. I don't give a shit. I truly don't, because here's the thing. I live in the Bible Belt, and I have spent my entire life around so many people who say, oh, well, I'm not religious, I'm just spiritual, right? And they're also awful fucking people. If you are not truly living by, if you call yourself a Christian in any way, shape, or form, and you are not truly living by the by how Jesus commanded you to live, which was to love everyone, then I really want you to shut the fuck up and take a seat. Yeah, Mother Teresa is a great example. She was a horrible fucking person. She was a terrible fucking person.
Yeah, and a media whore. She seemed to never meet a despot or dictator that she didn't love. And by the way, if you want all of the facts on Mother Teresa, I strongly suggest that you look up the Christopher Hitchens documentary that he did about her. It's 40 minutes of your life that you are going to feel very good about investing, because it pulls her bullshit apart completely, And yeah, she wasn't Schmittler level, but not that far off, because a lot of it was consequential, like in terms of her telling Christians in Africa, wearing condoms was wrong and things like that. That caused a lot of people to perish. And so she, until you do a deep dive into her life, I know it sounds crazy to hear someone say Mother Teresa was awful, but she sounded pretty awful to me.
Yeah. Which was funny, because I was actually at the store day before yesterday, and how sometimes they'll have those little magazine racks right there by the register. And there was one, and it was like top 100 women who shaped the world, right? And it had, just a few, like 20 women, their pictures bordering the headline on the cover of the magazine. And there were some great ones, like Malala was on there, but also Mother Teresa was on there.
Yeah.
And it just, I got a
just hype.
chuckle out of it.
That's just hype.
Yeah, I got a chuckle out of it.
I mean, Malala Yousafzai, I saw her documentary. I luckily got invited to a screening of it, and I was in tears. I mean, what a powerful person she is, just a powerful human being, to have endured the horrifying attack that she endured and come out of it with the grace and dignity that she has is just phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be that kind.
No. I haven't gone through half the shit, and I'm definitely nowhere near as kind.
Yeah. I have no problem with vengeance. I have no problem with revenge. Like some motherfucker needs revenging. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to do it. And the thing is, like, the difference between me and the MAGA hats is that I don't want my feelings of vengeance legislated into law.
Yeah.
I don't like, it's like I hate ABs, right? I hate them. I think it's horrifying. And I've been on the wrong end of a couple. Women that just decided that they didn't want to carry my demon seed, and they cut me out of the decision-making process. And I've been on the other side where when I was 18 or 19, I encouraged someone to get one. And either way, I came away just hating them altogether. However, I don't want my feelings made into law. I give myself the right to have these feelings. I give myself the right to believe the way I do, but that doesn't mean I want it to be law. Because especially these broad laws that are like no exceptions, Like, what the fuck do you mean, man? That's not how the world works.
Mhm.
There's got to be exceptions. You know, you've got to protect life. And these people don't. They're to me, they're a death cult, quite honestly. Like the same with the Bible. That's a blood cult. That's a death cult. That, the stuff that they talk, burnt offerings and all this wild shit. And you got to stone them for this and you got to stone them for that. Oh, let's wipe out this village because God wants us to. That's fucking wild shit. And there's nothing beautiful and loving and kind and caring about that stuff. It's all just horrible.
Hmm. Yeah, especially, a lot of what, particularly this administration, but typically the Republican Party in general, tries to legislate tends to be based around feelings of morality or feelings based upon a religious belief. That has no place. It has absolutely no place in our government, in our society. It doesn't. We have freedom of religion. It's enshrined in our Constitution. That also means freedom from religion.
Mm-hmm.
I am not to be forced to subscribe to your religious views and practices, just like you guys would not want to be forced to live by the religious practices of another religion that you don't subscribe to. So to say that, people can't make decisions for their own lives or their own bodies, or that people can't have certain rights because it, has a conflict with your moral or religious belief, I don't give a shit. It has no place in our government, nor should it.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And, I think that human beings have a very difficult balance to achieve when it comes to organizing a society. And I think that the degree of difficulty only increases as the size of the society increases. And what you want is peace. What you want is people to be safe, right? You want people to just get along with their life. And so what laws are, as you alluded to, they're just an attempt to codify morality. But the challenge is, whose morality are we codifying? And does that morality serve the biggest swath of people that we have in our society? Some do, some don't. There are some laws that are just horrifying. Some laws that are still on the books that people ignore, but they're still there. They're part of law. Like, a funny one is in New York City, it's against the law. Like, if a woman passes me, it's against the law for me to turn my head and look at her. All right. Now, nobody is, adhering to that. Nobody's enforcing that law, but that law is still, again, an attempt to codify morality. And if someone took that law seriously, I would have been put in jail 1,000 times, at least. And that's just on a weekend. All right. So it's a tricky thing. It's like we all want to get along, but I think the moment you try to codify it, you run into challenges that you really can't overcome. So much so that there's a whole nother set of laws just for business, the UCC, right? Like we found that, laws for everyday people were not adequate to the barbaric shit that happens in business. So they had to create a whole nother fucking set of laws just for business practices. And this is a very tricky thing.
Yeah. And that's like in Arkansas, it is actually a law on the books that it is illegal to pronounce it incorrectly. Like a lot of people say Arkansas. It is illegal in Arkansas to pronounce it that way. You have to pronounce it the correct way of Arkansas. But like Big G brought up a point. Host, isn't that why we should leave many of the laws at state level? Well, that's already the case. Many laws are at state level, but of course we have to be cognizant of the fact that we do live in a country as well, not just states. And so there have to be some laws that are federal that apply across the nation, particularly like human trafficking, right? Crossing state lines, because there are some things that get tricky when you move from one state to another. So there are instances where you do have to have federal laws. But also, in my opinion, when it comes to human rights, when you leave it to the state level, that's where waters get muddied. And that's how you end up with, I think it's 6 states that have a total ban on ABs with no exceptions, my state being one of them. So we have to be aware, we all know life does not fit into neat little boxes. Life is messy, and there's 1,000 different shades of gray within life.
Right.
And when you leave things like the topic of AB to state levels and you have them pass laws with bans that are completely total, or even with some exceptions, right? Like, oh, well, only in the case of the life of the mother being at risk. That's still expecting things to fall into neat little boxes. There are 1,000 different scenarios that could happen that would necessitate an AB to be performed that doesn't technically put the life of the mother at risk. It's again expecting life to be fit into neat little boxes, and that's just simply not how the world works.
Right, true. And I think a really easy example to illustrate everything that Jessica just said is Schmurder. Like, how crazy would it be if that went state to state? And some states would be like, no, we're perfectly fine with that. That's chaos. That's why the FBI exists, because we need cops that can work the whole country, right? And so, yeah, it's a tricky thing, man. It's just a tricky thing. All laws are tricky. And then this idea of federal and state, I mean, that's why elections are so fucked up, is because there's no just federal mandate that says this is how elections work, especially when we're talking president. Since the president is a federal position, then federal laws should govern all states. And when I say should, I use that word very loosely. It would make sense for federal laws to cover all states with regard to federal positions, especially one as important as president. But because we have all this bullshit going on, it's just chaos. Election day in America is pure fucking chaos. Make Democracy Great wants to come up. Let's see. Make
Hello.
Democracy Great. How are you today?
We're good. Hey, I just wanted to push back gently about what you're saying. Is the reason that they set it up that way is so that someone like Trump can't come in and can't commandeer our elections. That's the reason that it's set up that way. It's set up that way for a purpose, and I think people should be thankful that's the way it is.
The purpose has failed because you have a system where popularity doesn't matter. In the case of the presidency, every other position in America is popular vote, but somehow when it comes to president, we have the electoral college, and now popularity doesn't matter. That's how Trump got in the first time, despite the fact that Clinton got 2.89 million more votes cast to her.
I digress completely. I didn't understand you're talking about the electorate. I thought you were talking about each state having the right to do elections the way that they want.
You addressed what I was saying. I moved the conversation onto another idea based on what you said. But yeah, I think that you can make a federal law that absolutely prevents one person from having the kind of influence that you described. That's why we have 3 houses of power, right? So that one can't outpower the other. It's easy to do if you want to do it. Like, let's face it, America is literally the only democracy on earth that has elections the way we do, and it's laughable.
I'm just saying that they specifically set up each state to be in charge of their own elections so that it's non-centralized, so that the federal government cannot take over your elections. That was the whole purpose of it.
I got it, but it's not working. So I understand the intent, and that's a valid point, but it's just not working.
I agree with you.
I would say the one glaring problem is the electoral college. So how about this? If we want to keep it at the state level, let's get rid of the electoral college.
Pete Buttigieg actually just recently, within I believe the last 48 hours, proposed that very thing, very publicly, getting rid of the Electoral College and moving federal elections to count the popular vote rather than using the Electoral College just
Yeah.
here recently.
Good.
So
we need that.
The conversation on that part, when you're talking about the electoral college in that respect, you're talking about states like New York and California being able to throw their population around and ramrod the rest of the country. And I don't think personally, my opinion personally is that's not because of the electoral college, but that's why it was put in place. But
No, it wasn't. The Electoral
why
College
is
was
that?
put in place to appease slave owners. That's the only reason it was put in place. Do a deep dive on that and you'll see that what I'm saying is correct. But here's the thing. I've heard the New York, California argument over and over and over again. It does not hold water because what you have is a population. When we're talking about elections, forget about states. What you have is a population, and the population consists of one person having one vote. So it doesn't matter what state you're in, it doesn't matter where you're from, everybody's vote counts the same. And New York and California, if they were going to decide elections, they would have decided elections. But look at the last election; it was 77 million to 75 million. That was the actual count of votes. So New York and California didn't factor into that. So I've never understood that argument.
Yeah, I agree because and Yoda put it beautifully, one person, one vote. And because by using the Electoral College, you are taking away the argument that everyone's vote matters, right? By going with popular vote, you can say, oh, well, then New York or California would throw their population around. It doesn't matter what the population is. Each person is an individual with their own thoughts, feelings, and opinions and political views. So we cannot say that any of their votes mean less simply because of the population of the city or state that they happen to live in.
I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm not saying not to get rid of the electoral college, but I'm saying that without it, in that respect, then the people that live in like North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, who do they have to go to bat for them? Nobody would care about them because their votes don't matter.
They don't need anybody to go to bat for them because they would all have one vote.
Their votes would all count.
Everybody's vote would count the same. Yeah, I've heard all these arguments for decades now, and none of them ever make sense to me. And again, we have examples of other democratic countries who just count the vote. That's it. Every person puts in a vote. Every vote is counted. Whoever gets the most wins. Simple. Because if it was about populations, then Republicans would never win. But it's not. Because even in those states, like New York is not 100% Democrat, California is not 100% Democrat. So even Texas is not 100% Republican. That's how they're depicted on maps, but that's not the truth. When you look at the population, it tells a different story.
What you're saying about the slave owners being the ones that benefited the most out of that system.
No, that's not what I said. I said that it was meant to appease slave owners. America was young. They were just getting things organized, and slave owners were threatening to leave the Union. And they, that's where they came up with the 3/5 compromise, all this shit. It was a very volatile time in American history. And so to keep those states in the Union, they came up with all of these compromises that are antithetical to democracy. America's never been what it has purported itself to be. It's great propaganda, but very little reality in American history.
I agree with you 1,000,000% on that. And I
Yeah, and
appreciate you bringing
so
that to the
and
table. I'll check
voting
it
is
out.
just a glaring example of that. I mean, America bills itself as the beacon of democracy, and yet we're the only democratic country that doesn't just count each vote. That's absurd.
Yeah, I'll
Um,
definitely look into that.
yeah, Mr. Three Master's Degrees says every other country doesn't have this experiment called states. Yes, they do.
Oh
Yeah,
my God.
yes, they do.
That is so funny.
Dude, see what I mean? The difference between schooled and educated? This is a perfect example of what I'm talking about.
That's
And I know
wild.
that you paid me a compliment earlier, but, and I thanked you for that, but still, what you're saying is goofy, man.
I mean, in Canada, they're called providences, but it's still the
Same
same
thing.
principle.
Same
Yeah.
thing. In Africa, in
Australia.
China, same.
Look at Russia. Russia's done
Of
similarly the same as
course.
well.
Of course.
Australia.
Yeah.
Like
Just it's like just read one article, man. Oh, anyway, let's wrap this thing up. Let's get some final thoughts. We'll start and we'll go from the top down. So for make democracy great. Any final thoughts for the evening? And thank you for being here and bringing up the topics that you brought up.
Yeah, hey, I always enjoy your conversations, and I appreciate you bringing that to the table. I'm going to go look into that. I appreciate the awareness of it.
My pleasure. Any final thoughts for the evening other than that?
Oh, just put your seatbelt on. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
Agreed. All right. Thank you so much for being here. Have a great night.
You too.
Jones, any final thoughts for the evening?
Always be afraid of the light because it might be a car coming for you.
All right. Have a good night. Jessica, final thoughts for the evening.
yeah, people, please do more reading.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit of reading. It would
Just
help
a
you so
little.
much.
Please do more reading than just the catchy headlines in your favorite news organizations, articles. Please use nonpartisan accredited sources.
Oh, Lord.
Books.
It's getting
Books are
complicated.
great. Books are really great. The satisfaction of flipping a page, man, you can't get past it. Anyway.
And don't
Oh,
be afraid of
jeez.
words. Words are okay. Even words with a lot of parts to them, commonly known as syllables, it's okay. Don't be
Yeah.
afraid. If you learned how to say Schwarzenegger, you can say anything. You can handle anything, okay?
Yeah, don't shy away from books that don't have lots of pictures. That's okay too.
And some of them that have none at all, except the
Yeah.
cover,
Yeah. Listen, especially so, people always say, history repeats itself. I don't find that to be the case, but it does often parallel.
Yeah.
History doesn't repeat, but it does often rhyme.
Right.
And so,
Mark Twain quote.
Yes. So educate yourself on history. If you want to get a good look at the state of our country today, read history. And that'll tell you a lot. And don't just read some weird off the wall book that your favorite politician wrote. Like, maybe use credible sources. On that note, fuck Trump, free Palestine. Y'all have a great night.
Thank you for being here. All right, Danny, my brother from another mother, always ready to rock and roll. If you're not following Danny, you're goofy. He goes live 4 times a week, and it's good stuff. What are your final thoughts for the evening, Danny?
Fuck Donald Trump and stop the genocide here in America and Iran.
All right, rock on. And I'll call you in a few minutes. All right, so folks, this was a bumpy ride because we had to wade through a lot of outrageous, idiotic stuff. And here's the thing. Even if you think you're smart, that doesn't mean you can't say dumb things. I say dumb things all the time. But the difference, if you're really, really smart, is that you're willing to learn. You're willing to look for facts. And you're willing to be uncomfortable that facts that you discover go against what you believe. That is really the power. Thank you for the Heart Me Make Democracy Great. Like, sometimes you're going to find out that you're wrong about stuff. And that's okay. We're going to be wrong. I like to describe myself as a talking monkey, and I say that with all due respect to monkeys. I happen to love monkeys, especially the great apes. We are their close cousin, and I love how most of them conduct themselves. So when I say I'm a talking monkey, that's just me being literal. And also I like to say that I have a thimble full of knowledge in an ocean full of knowledge. Okay, I know this much, and I am willing to accept that and the fact that I will only know ever this much. But I seek knowledge and I accept when I am proven wrong. And some people would describe that as humility. So you have to be humble enough to understand that you're going to be wrong. You're going to have to be humble enough to understand that you can be manipulated, and chances are you were, and we all were. We all were manipulated by various things. Some people get manipulated more than others, and some people believe they know the truth when they don't. So all I'm encouraging everybody to do is do your best to get smarter, to learn more, to see through the propaganda, and to separate fact from fiction. That's my PSA for the evening. I am Yoddah, spelled Yoddah, because film studios are litigious, and I'm here on Yoddah Live Monday through Saturday, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, if I don't take off for laziness. But until we see each other again, thank you for the panelists who came up. You're all superstars. Peace, love, and granola. Talk to you soon.